Hey everybody, welcome to Free Street Theater. And to the Guild Literary Complex's production of Like Bread. Happy to see you all here on a Saturday afternoon. I'm John Rich, the director of the Guild Literary Complex, and I'm here to remind you to turn off your telephones, please. And I'm here to remind you to have a good time. This show is about writing, and sometimes writers take themselves very seriously. How many writers are in the house tonight? Yeah. How many writers wanted to correct me when I said the house tonight when it's really 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Fair enough. That's because you're taking yourself too seriously. So these writers took themselves seriously, but by doing that, they came up with a very funny show that we're doing a workshop production of. This show will be in a full production next fall. And after today's show, there's going to be a short talk back. So if you want to give some feedback, let us know what you think, ask some questions, we would greatly appreciate that. But without further ado, enjoy Like Bread.
Do you really think poetry matters?
Do I think it matters? Of course it does. Do you think it matters?
Poetry is dead.
Irrelevant. Narcissistic.
Stupid.
Boring.
Bullshit.
Academic.
Convoluted.
Contrived.
Passive. Inconsequential.
Elitist.
Bloody exclusionist.
Exclusionary.
Excludes me, asshole. Pompous. Cloying. Self-indulgent.
Superfluous.
Oh, meddling.
Meddling?
Yes. It just gets all in your business. Makes you cry, makes you feel some feelings. Sentimental.
Savvy. Silly.
Childish.
Worthless.
Non-profitable.
Did you say priceless? Priceless. Immaterial.
Rude.
Crude.
Loud.
Childish. Ignorant. Rotten.
Bougie.
Poetry is the opiate of the masses. Puts everybody to sleep.
Tiresome.
Confusing.
Short.
Long.
Oblong.
Tedious. Repetitive. Redundant. Ostentatious. That's not a word. Excludes me. Obtuse. Obscure.
Obvious.
Obdurate. Obfuscate.
For rich people.
By poor people.
Frivolous.
Flat.
Feckless.
Frickleless. Self-important.
Fantastical. Magical.
Life-changing.
Healing. Therapeutic.
Affirming.
Illuminating.
Ethereal.
Exciting.
Euphemistic. Metaphorical. Allegorical.
Gangster.
Stupid, ridiculous, dribble, dribble, dribble! I'm just saying, if you're falling off a cliff, do you want a poem? Or a rope?
I could write a poem about this. I could write a poem about gravity, about Icarus in flight, about the Wright brothers, about taking the leap, sometimes you fall. I could write a poem about this. I could write a poem about cliffs.
Debt ceiling, the fiscal edge, Republicans. I could write a poem about this.
About wax wings.
Question of compromise.
Can a black man get a fair shake? I don't think so. I can write a poem about this. Who will catch him?
Suspended in air.
Obamacare.
Bulleted brains. I can write a poem about this.
About metaphor.
About something real.
No, rhetoric.
Grit.
Politics.
Where does polemic leave the body? Are we flesh or an idea?
A dream. A vision.
I
I
can write a
can
poem
write a
about
poem
this.
It'll change the world.
It'll change lives.
Change mine.
Change politics.
Because a poem can do that.
Yes, do that.
Yes.
This poem.
This poem.
I got it. Ain't never been better than aren't I be standard where I be. My poetry ain't poet enough. My ratchet better than your wretched. My ratchet, wretched to you. Although Shakespeare made up thousands of words. Y'all ain't like us. Y'all lack us. Don't try me. This ain't that. That is that. Do that there. Do not dare try me. Cause I does this. Real black. Real deep black. Like Congo. And you ain't King Leo. So give me my tongue back. Give me my hand back.
Yes.
This isn't exactly what I had in mind. It has nothing to do with gravity, with Icarus, with hope, with air.
With how a black man cannot get a fair shake.
Materiality of experience.
Where polemic leaves the body. Politic.
This skin knocks you off.
A rhetorical question. If you are falling off a cliff, do you want a poem or a rope?
Or wings.
Where the hell are you getting wings from?
Is this wing a metaphor for welfare?
Amateurs.
Hello? What?
Are you sure?
I'll call you back.
I kept asking myself, why would they want to tear down a library? Does that make any sense? People actually want to come together as a community and read. Shouldn't we be encouraging this? Not coming in the middle of the night with bulldozers to tear it all down. That sounds like the kind of thing that shouldn't happen in Chicago. Shouldn't happen in America. That's some dictator shit. Some burn the books, erase the archives, deny the history, dictator shit. I kept asking myself, why would they want to tear down a library? Why would they want to tear down a library? Why would they want to tear down a library? Let's pretend that's not a rhetorical question. Let's pretend we don't already know the answer. How about you? Why would they tear down a library? Any idea? Opinion? What about you, sir? Why would anybody want to tear down a library? What do you think? Think he has a point. Anyone else? What about you? Why would anybody want to tear down a library when people want to read and we should encourage that kind of thing? What do you think? Anything? I'll tell you why. It's racism, plain and simple. Dictatorship. And I don't want to sound too paranoid, but I am starting to feel that it is racism, that it is some dictatorship, some cowardly, cheap, spineless, boneless, punk-ass, pusillanimous dictatorship. Scared. Oh, what word?
Inspire?
Yes, word.
Record?
Yes. Document.
I just said that. They're the same thing. Document, record. Am I crazy? I just said that.
Archive.
Heal.
Men, pursue,
Freedom. Seduce.
Enlighten.
enhance,
Penetrate.
Pierce.
Hurt. Disgust.
Disarm. Modify.
Motivate.
Infuriate.
Educate.
Entrance. Revive.
awaken,
Save a life. Change the world.
Outstanding.
Come on.
Where are you going?
I'm back.
She owe me $5.
Isn't this what words can do?
Yeah, of course.
Save a life? Change the world? Help us to imagine a future. Record the past. A poem transforms the everyday. A poem says, come on world, let's be specific. Let's evoke. Let's do this. Let's write the world we want. Let's reach inside and grapple with the matter. Let's pull ourselves out of invisibility. Let's speak our truth to power.
We agree with you, okay?
Choir.
Let's do this. Haven't you ever looked at a person and gone, that girl needs a poem?
Yes.
That girl needs a poem?
Yes. I wrote that line. Obviously, I think it. That girl needs a poem.
Maybe I inspired you.
No, it was my poem. No.
No.
I wrote it. No, we wrote the poem.
When we were brainstorming, it was your line. You ever look at somebody and think that girl needs a poem?
Yes, see? No, but actually, we wrote the poem.
We went out after rehearsal one night and knocked it out of a bottle of wine.
No. She still speaks in pronouns. No, just one pronoun. They, when she means she. They met me for lunch today. They called. They came by. They. Always the pronoun. Always the client. Always the colleague. Always the distance. Girl, you know there's no air or no food in that closet. You will suffocate. You will.
That's not the poem.
That's the That Girl Needs a Poem. I wrote it. No.
That girl needs a poem. Look at her shuffling, head down, gum spots and broken glass, sitting there making constellations.
Yes, mad, but with no words to preach. So no chance to be Sam Jackson. and finished, stretched and sweaty. Get that money, girl. Guzzle it up. Get bloated.
You're deep in the Sahara and don't even know your canteen is tilting out its last drops.
Oh, your camel has gone rubber-legged. Even use your own words, like a half-blind fashion plate. Decades of clothes, mismatched sometimes, always off-season. But the state of mind on her sleeve.
Find your favorite forgotten rustling from the hangers, hold it up, squint, smile, and wear it to nowhere. But your living room,
Girl,
that girl needs a poem.
seriously, you took my line and turned it into a different poem. We were inspired. This is why I need to put that little copyright sign on all my work. People will steal your shit in a minute. My poem was good. No, I worked in things like closets for coats and for shoes, not for love and truths. Take this poem. It is your permission to be who you are. Take this poem, read it, eat it, be it. It is like bread.
You say that about
What, like bread is the name of our show, Linda.
Doesn't mean you need to put it in everything you write.
Okay, first of all.
Can we agree that poetry matters?
Can we agree that words change lives?
Yeah.
Can we agree that we've all had the experience of reading a poem that transforms the way we think?
Can we agree that some poems are better than others?
Who gets to decide that?
I like a lot of different kinds of poetry.
Okay. Can we all agree that we like some poems better than other poems?
Yes.
Can we agree that poets are sensitive? Can we agree that poets are under-encouraged?
Can we agree that poetry can inspire?
Yes.
Yes.
Can we all agree that we're the most special of the special?
Roger that. Can we agree that poets are healers?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's see, can we agree that poets
Are healers. I'm sorry to spell that out.
She already said that.
Well, can I get an amen? Since we Can we agree that poets heal?
Yes.
Can we agree that poems heal?
Yes.
Can we agree?
Yes.
Can we agree?
Yes.
Can we agree?
No.
So what? You're sensitive, in touch with your innermost thoughts. Isn't that precious? Jab! Uppercut! Do something! Make my paycheck last as long as the week. Give me a prescription to keep my dick hard. I didn't know nature is impressive, and people do bad shit to each other. And love is great. Until it isn't. I don't have time to ponder the meaning of life. I'm working 2 jobs already. The reason I hated getting up this morning was not existential angst. It's because I'm overweight and my back hurts and I drank too much last night knowing I'd have to come out of my corner and face this all again. You want to be heard? Why should we listen? Just because you have a good vocabulary? So do lawyers and politicians and ring announcers. They're just there to call out which poor sap got the living shit beat out of them and how. You think your words are more important than a Somali refugee's? or a retiree who got their pension stolen? How are you any better than some celebrity tweeting themselves? Are you ready to rumble? What are you doing? Don't say teaching. Brainwashing kids like some snake oil salesman until they think feeling their feelings is footwork. I mean, really. Who are your biggest fans? Exactly. Other poets. Or friends and family. But they just act interested rope-a-dope style so you'll still feed them, or fuck them, or include them at Christmas. You think anyone's gonna save all your little notebooks? You'll get forgotten. But for the count, get to 10. Look, everybody needs something to get through the day. Just don't act like poetry is any better than beer, or TV, or blackjack, or porn, or a bacon burger with extra fries. It's just something to make you think. You're going down swinging.
Hypothesis.
Poetry is like bread.
Like bread, like air, like water.
Like love, like my son, like my daughter.
Like Clifton, like Dickinson, like Chaucer.
Like Lehman, like bailout, like underwater.
Like smelter, like swelter, like hotter.
Like Alice, like Rabbit, like Hatter.
Like scribe, like scribbler, like jotter.
Like pantry, like staples, like barter. Like hip, like captain, like crib.
Like stomach, like jugular, like head.
Like whispered, like wondered, like said.
Like ancestors, like descendants, like friend.
Like pulsing, like staining, like red.
Like A, like B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, like Z.
Like promised land, like hot cold, like tread.
Like denial, like cancer, like... Yeah. Okay.
What?
I can't.
You sure there's nothing you can do?
Well, how about, anything.
I just want to rest. I want to just lay
friendship meant a lot. Views change. But back then, when you had a friend, you made a friend for life. It was a big deal. In a way, poetry is like a friend. You find a good one, it's there for a lifetime. I remember some of my poetry when I was growing up. It's still with me. See if you can recall. I think that I shall never see thorns building as a tree. Or I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too? How about we? Real cool. We left school. We could play. We strike straight. We thin and gin. We sing sin. We jazz June. We. I see. Yeah. Poetry is good to have around. And yeah, there's a poem for everything, every occasion. And as we enter our golden years and embark upon the final hours, you might want to recall this. I could not stop for death, but it kindly stopped for me. The fairy tale of just ourselves and immortality. I don't have a rope. I'm falling off. I think I need a home.
Fine.
I said I needed a part!
Haven't you ever heard of a metaphor?
Asshole!
Do it again!
Do it again!
Dear Uncle Harry, you are like a father to me, and I can't believe our days are already gone. I miss you so much. Who's there? Who's there? Who's there?
Intimidating cow.
Intimidating.
Hypothesis. Poetry is like bread.
Soft. Ordinary. Common. Sustaining, necessary, nourishing. Everyone needs it. Everyone has it. It is everywhere. It should be everywhere. Will it feed you? The sky is like bread, or we need bread to describe the sky. We're quoting Roque Dalton, right? The Salvadorian poet murdered for his work as a revolutionary. Was he murdered for the poems or for taking up arms against the government? Which was more dangerous, the poem or the gun? And what does he mean when he says, I believe the world is beautiful and that poetry, like bread, is for everyone? Is he predicting the common core across in every curriculum? Or is he just saying, this is the heart of revolution? Words. Can words be the heart for revolution? What is a revolution? What about this? My veins don't end in me, but in the unanimous blood of those who struggle for life, love, little things, landscape, and bread. The poetry of everyone. loves a poem. We all experience poetry because we eat bread. What is the landscape, cultural or literal geography? What is he talking about? Oh my God, what are we talking about? It's beautiful, I know, life, love, little things. But is that the bread? Is that the bread we're talking about? The poems? I'm overthinking. I'm sorry. I'm overthinking. I can't breathe. I'm begging. No.
Hypothesis.
Poetry is like bread.
Hypothesis.
Poetry is like an old friend.
The hypothesis.
Save you when you're blue. Hypothesis.
Poetry can save you when you're down.
Poetry can save you.
Hypothesis.
Poetry can save you from a shark.
No. Sharks don't speak human. They don't understand the metaphor. I don't see it.
True.
That's a stretch.
Hypothesis.
Poets save the world from the zombie apocalypse.
This is ridiculous. Poetry cannot save the world from the zombie apocalypse.
Well, what about poets?
No.
I'm sorry, we have real things to talk about here.
Zombies are a real thing.
No, Jane, they're not.
Poets save the world from the zombie apocalypse. Or in a world. Poetry is a quiet art. The scrape of a pen alerts no zombie, wakens no brain hunger. Well, not that kind. Are smart brains tastier? Here lies X. The poem on the stone does not prevent the hand, the arm, the moan from rising from the grave. Vampires I could see. The lilt of the Lord's Prayer or a psalm chasing them back to their coffins. Or werewolves. Silver pen, my best pen to the heart. But zombies, that is the heart of the matter. The gray matter on the platter. Moan. At the zombie dance, I don't know what happens actually. The sliver of rhyme stuck in the brain, like an infuriating rock in the hue or spit into the teeth. Splinter worming its way through the should-be dead brain till it festers, rots, dissolves, finally giving up the angry, hungry ghost. Or pen to the eye, ninja stealth in the face of not a horde. Oh God, don't wait for them to hoard. Persistence. One zombie at a time. Stick in the ear, the eye, the claw, paper cut them to pieces. The death of 1,000 stanzas. No rhyme scheming for whom the bell tolls on a roll. No chainsaw, but chained verses. Brenda stuck into nunchucks to take them down without noise, but plenty of drama. Silent as the grave.
I tie you up, I also have to let you go.
So I say, girl!
On the count of 3.
1,
2.
3. I came out to Adrian Rich.
I'm not gay.
So he always asks me, did you work today? And I always say, yeah, but not like you. Then he just looks at me stupid. Oh, I like him stupid. Partly because he's cheap. I think I'm gonna hit him up for money. Money he has. He's just cheap. But the sex is like so I placate. I placate, pushing some woman's word, hoping he gets the message. He never gets the message. I write poems. He writes checks. Neither of us writing as much or as well as we are capable. Lazy. Okay, ready? Okay. Worst word. Worst word. Worst word! Nobody values us. Nobody takes poets serious.
We're not cardiac surgeons.
We are the cardiac surgeons of this poem.
Cause no Jewish mom ever said, "Now, Linda, I want you to be a poet. Forget about being a doctor." If you're falling off a cliff, do you want a poem or a rope?
I have so many questions. What does that rope attach to? How sturdy is the rope? If someone had the decency to leave a rope near the cliff, why did they leave me a hammer and a nail? Who's going to put me for this? What has this rope done for me lately? What if I don't have the capacity to carry my body weight? Then what? What? Should I spin around the edge of the cliff and hang on my calves? The answer to your question is neither. I'd use my hands, pull myself up and live. Or I'd let myself go and die.
We are talking about writer's block, aren't we?
I don't feel like a writer.
You are a writer.
What does it mean? What does it even mean?
What if I wrote my best poem when I was 12?
You don't have to be a writer.
What?
You don't have to be a poet. You do not have to be a poet. You don't have to be a poet. Huh? Huh?
You don't have to be a poet to fall in love with someone you don't even know.
To watch tea steam steep into floral fragrances.
To dream of the moon and then pull again too.
But you don't have to be a poet to be indulgent.
To have a lover.
To hang out at Starbucks. You don't have to be a poet to get in a fight with a Jehovah's Witness.
You don't have to be a poet to lose track of insights.
To start a revolution!
Yeah.
To argue. Yeah.
You don't have to be a poet to get dirty, digging up the garden.
You don't have to be a poet to heal hidden wounds.
You don't have to be a poet to hitchhike, to snow angels.
To sing off key, command attention.
To cast lullabies at the shop.
You don't have to be a poet to walk down your block and step in dog shit.
To be silent. To be still, love.
To notice how the water prickles your skin when you're showering. To remember the moment.
You don't have to be a poet to think about death or love or sex. You don't have to be a poet to make words dance.
You don't have to be a poet to get invited to weddings, funerals, trip over the first line of the second date, catch your balance in time.
You don't have to be a poet to be reflective, even narcissistic, to sit at a hard chair at a wobbly table, fill a notebook with scratches and scribbles, to disappoint your family, to give them something to boast about.
You don't have to be a poet to be a pest, procrastinator, or professor. To prestidigitate with pens and pencils.
You don't have to be a poet to be overeducated and underemployed. To be underwater, undercover, under suspicion.
You don't have to be a poet. So if you be a poet, that's on you.
Oh, my Lord, 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 Lord. Church, I don't think you hear me. I said, oh, my Lord, 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 Lord. Church, let me hear you say, I can't hear, let me hear you say, I can't hear the newcomers out there, let me hear you say, How many of y'all ready to go to the heaven? Ready to go to heaven? You can't go to the heaven poets when I see them. I couldn't save no souls because I was writing some poems. Listen, baby, hell is a hot place. Ain't no water there. It shows some alcohol, but ain't no water there. It shows some similes, baby. It shows some fornication. Ain't no water there. It shows some haiku, but ain't no water there. So don't trust them lyrics. They just playing tricks. Don't write down no lyrics. That's working for 666. Don't trust them allegories. You best give God some glory. Curse he ain't able to say. You go to the poetry slam? You gonna be damned. Curse he ain't able to say. You go to the open mic? God gonna say, "Say." Thought you had a friend, but you ain't even there. But but his soul don't like poetry. Let the church say amen? Amen. Lord. That's my favorite song of the day.
Inspired is quite delightful thing.
Smashing.
Do you know what I often thought would be lovely? A Dead Poets Society.
Yes, my zombies.
No, like so. And there is a Swanee town of which you've never heard. You don't need millions, furs or gowns, but what you do need is the word. You have been to galas, perhaps gossiped at high tea, but let me tell you about my night at the Dead Poets Society. Sylvia Plath slaved over the stove. Probably not the best idea. Well, Allen Ginsberg held his own with onomatopoeia. T.S. Eliot got wasted and Sexton sat alone. And Gertrude Stein, as Alice B. Toklas, my Emily Dickinson, stayed home. Yeats said there'd be a second coming. Dorothy Parker debunked fame. And Robert Frost was totally lost in Shakespeare's What's in a Name. Blake painted pictures of pastoral farms. Victor Hugo watched Les Mis. And Dante caused quite the inferno when he called Elizabeth Bishop Liz. Walt Whitman sang a song of himself. Brooks and Hughes, they played gin. Thomas Hardy came late to the party with Alfred Lloyd Tennyson. The whole place now was rocking and would do so until dawn. Now who'd have thunk our bus revelers were our poets who are gone? You may keep your social registry of spectacular events. You may mark through next year's calendar with big black marking pens. I wouldn't trade it know-how for all of China's tea, and I just can't wait for my next date. At the Dead Poets Society!
Extraordinary commentary. I thought it was rather pedantic.
I was making my entrance into this atmosphere. I yearned for this poem before I knew it existed, searching for words to seductively illustrate my femininity. My body was being molded by the hands of womanhood. My power was beginning to be impossible to hide. It's in the fire of my eyes, the flash of my teeth, the sun and the swing of my waist, the joy in my feet. I am a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me. I pulled out all of those raggedy notebook spirals and journals from underneath my bed and flipped through the pages and pages of poems that I had written and vowed to share with no one. My gift had been unearthed because Maya had spoken, and the pulse and cadence of her poem held me hostage. She was stating what I knew to be true about myself, but was frightened to unleash. It's in the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breasts, the grace of my style. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me. The simplicity of Maya's words, each one delicately caressing the next, the bravery of her intentions, the truth peeking from behind the ink on her pages. The day I read Maya's poem, I became bold, and I have been daringly expressing myself ever since. It's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hands, the need for my care, because I'm a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me.
An honor student sits front and center, with his mind wandering in the back desk. Wooden, rickety with carved graffiti.
A desk signifying the educational experience of every student that sat there during Mr. Mitchell's Macbeth lesson since 1983.
Iambic pentameter meant so much to Mr. Mitchell. Only upper middle classmen in the class. Honor student brains evades that Elizabethan stylization, and he wonders, will he eat after school? Then he wonders, why Shakespeare never wrote about that?
About him.
About hunger.
Now he's grown up. Regular man delegitimized by the American education system chuckles at the idea of writing a poem to express his angst, rejecting the idea that poetry was meant for him after only being assigned Petrarch, Poe, and Wordsworth in high school.
He tells me poetry doesn't really matter because his feelings are not free. They are bound in later, as time is money. And a poor man has no time to waste, as every word written would be worth time, would be worth less, would cost too much.
He says you can't read in the dark. No gas-lighted candle, bathe in the heart of words.
You can't read Old English without access to an Oxford English dictionary.
You can't read it without an urban modern translation.
You can't read what you were never intended to gain access to.
This poor man's poetry is in between the lines of his forehead. Stressful indentations indicating bewildering thematic irrelevance. This don't talk about the interconnection of hierarchical social structures.
This don't talk about his homeless neighbors.
This don't talk about his inherent economic immobility due to American capitalism.
The poor man's poetry is a line break. The slowly swaggered strides of a hunchbacked deviant without having been afforded strapped boots. He's barefooted. No feet, no meter.
Poor man's poetry is in free verse, in his slow, effective drawl, speaking only of loves, laughs, and pennilessness. He calls himself Jiggy Snow, with a Dominic's grocery bag bonneted to protect himself from the rain. He calls me his friend.
The poor man's poetry is the antecedent. Before the war on civility in historical Palestine, the Congo, Guatemala, Chile, Sudan, Iraq, and America. After after the metaphorical graves have been filled by cheapened caloric intake, unnamed wars, covert racism, and legitimate rape.
A poor man's poetry is, it's written in breaths. Hard breaths breathed on Chicago's west side. Breaths coupled by voices silenced by poverty. The ineligibility of poverty, the violence of poverty, the inheritance of poverty. Silent voices that cannot be heard over the screaming myths of the welfare queen, the docile gang affiliate, and the deadbeat dad we all had.
Poor man's poetry scoffs at conservatives who still don't believe there are two Americas, citizens protected by laws, citizens affected by laws.
It's in the hands, the feet.
The eyes.
A poor man's poetry is always unwritten.
I told you, no. And no means no. No, 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 no.
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 What are we saying no to?
To being a writer.
Me too.
Not me.
What does that mean? You mean you don't write anything?
What about grocery lists?
Grocery lists don't count.
They do if they're a list of poems.
Oh, please.
All the time. You write them all the time back in the 90s.
Look, I didn't say I didn't write anything. I said I'm not a writer.
I don't understand,
I'm not a writer.
but you're right.
But I'm not a writer.
But I don't understand.
Of course you're a writer.
No.
You write, so that makes you a writer.
No.
I don't think so. I'll show you how to be a writer. It's simple. All you have to do, first, change your Facebook job profile status to writer.
Wear black.
You did right.
Look up the names of famous poets, then find their books on Amazon and start your own collection. See?
Search openly for heartbreak. Get dumped, lose your job, contract a romantic sounding disease.
You call it writing.
Pay all your bills late. Buy handfuls of pencils, pens, and notebooks that lie around your house, but for clarity and convenience, write everything on your laptop.
See, then you can be typing, but it's still be writing.
After the sun goes down, pour a drink, and then pour two more to loosen up the filters.
Prepare to defend the things you write people don't understand with, it's a metaphor.
For writing.
Get at least one tattoo that pays homage to your favorite poet.
You know, you can even turn nighttime into right time. So
This is the worst advice I have ever gotten.
I can't call myself I feel that what I like mostly is verse. I like working with words and the rhyme patterns and that sort of thing. So most of the time I use my poetry to make people happy.
My mom. She doesn't consider herself a poet, and yet she'd make most people who claim the title poet blush at the prolific volume she comes up with each year. The woman sends out 50 poems a month. For birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, holidays, any special occasion, she writes like this. This is to my nephew Cyrus. To Cyrus, we wish a lot of things for you, among them a happy birthday too. It might be hard to celebrate when difficult times have been your fate. But hang in there, Cyrus, you're doing so well. Everything's mending as time will tell. With patience and spirit and faith never fear, you'll be good as new to go get him next year. Or what about this, her limerick phase? There once was a couple on dues, that's her and my dad, by the way, who couldn't stand the thought of a cruise, so they packed up the car and then traveled far to enjoy camping and spectacular views. But she says she's not a poet, just someone who writes verse, someone who writes poems to make people happy. And they do. Someone who uses poetry as a way to reframe the ordinary so that people can see it in a different way. Writes about her friends so they can become someone they hadn't seen before and know that someone is seeing them too. But she's not a poet. How does a dictionary define poet? Poet. One who writes poetry. Simple as that. She's a poet. That is one thing I learned from my mom, for sure. Looking shit up. We used to call her Dictionary Mom. Whenever we didn't know a word, she'd be off into the other room to go look it up in the big black Webster's Unabridged. Here it is, honey. Exclusionist. The adjectival or noun form of exclusion as no rights. My mom chose a family over a career in the arts. So did my grandmother. Is that why neither one of them could claim the title other than mother and wife? I'm the first of the creative women in my family not to choose a family. At 19 years old, I thought, my stories will be my babies. And they are, in a way. They're what will remain in the world after I'm gone, telling their own tale without me to clarify. But you know what? I don't call myself a writer either. I write, but I'm not a writer. I don't claim the title, writer. Writer. What does it mean to be, what makes someone a writer? Getting paid? Recognition? Awards? What if you just write because it makes you happy? For the pure love of language, connection, and communion with other souls. What if you just write?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
There is a man who stands outside of the 7-Eleven on Damon Avenue. He says to me, "Sir, can you spare any change?" I have on me are the poems in my head. It doesn't amount to much. A catnip bush 2 blocks from my house is a sign that reads, "Cut a bud for your kitty." I wonder if they have more of these in the lesbian neighborhood. I don't have a cat, but I wonder if I should take one anyway. Hang it up and dry it out so that one day I can lose my lonely to some pretty girl who could be swooned by a white flag of this love herb and a love note that reads, "I'm a dog person, but baby, you make me want to be a cat person too." Only, I know the lonely will find me again. I was born with this mere sternum, and a heart looking right back at its red face from giving myself my own runaround. When I tell this heart, I want to have a word with you, it gives me a poem. There never has to be rhyme or reason, but sometimes there is. 21-year-old me that it's worth the read. When I was trying to decide if writing a suicide note to my family would save them some grief, I should have been asking myself if metaphors for live could really only look better on paper. There should be toll-free numbers for the lonely, ads stating, "For a good time, give me a call and I'll read you a poem." Sometimes I only needed to hear that I existed in writing. For anyone who has ever felt smaller because labels told you not to air dry your dirty laundry, try reading outside of the lines, where fitting in is open to interpretation. For any person who looks a poem in its face and says, "You can't save me from myself," there is a poem saying, "Try me. Try me. I dare you, poem, to write me until my lonely is nothing but wrongfully stated. When I feel too shattered for this world, remind me that fortune cookies need first to be broken before their words can be felt in my hands. This is a love poem to words that are most holy to all of my hurricanes. This is a wind sprint through my racing heart that questions how a poem could ever keep up with me. How holy are these words that are spoken? Bless your ears that can hear it. Bless any hearing that is listening. The poem says, "Try me. Try me. Try me."
Alright, listen. I want to write a poem about. I want to write a poem that matters.
I want to write a poem using the image of thread to string to rope to cable.
I want to write a poem about the DMV.
I want to write a poem about waffle irons, curling irons, and Jeremy irons. I just want to write a poem.
I want to write a poem about dancing that feels as good as dancing does. I want to write a poem about the moon turn stereotypes into astronomy.
Hey, I want to write a poem about dating.
I want to write a poem about the cavalry.
I would write a poem about love letters.
I want to write a poem that makes white people stop fearing young black men.
I want to write a poem about my first journal. It was like this little diary with a little block and a key on top.
I want to write a poem about how black people keep falling for the Facebook trap and how everything you write will be used against you.
I want to write a poem about how writing saved my life, how it kept me sane.
I want to write a poem about sagging pants. No, about a poem that will resurrect the dead.
I want to write a poem about how saved my life is not a turn of phrase. See?
I want to write a poem about waiting for a sibling to die of mental illness. I want to write a poem about guilt. I want to write a poem about relief.
I want to write a poem about text messages, mixed messages, and a real Halloween.
I want to write a poem about stars, turn stereotypes into astrology.
I want to write a poem about Adrian Rich, about diving into the wreck. I want to write a poem about how it feels to have your name finally written in someone else's history.
I want to write about how writing helped me feel like I mattered.
I want to write a poem about how writing makes me feel important.
I want to write a poem about something important, like bank bailouts or the Middle East, or about how a bowl of authentic ramen soup, with its bean sprouts and green leaves, its ruffles of sliced meat, and split egg bobbing like a glinting shell, is like a flower ceremony at sea.
I want to write a poem about small joys, about Pussy Riot.
I want to write a poem about lovers that I don't have. Maybe I'll conjure one.
I want to write a poem about the perfect shade of pink lipstick.
I want to write a poem about my son's smile, about why I miss Tupac, and about my
nice.